every day. But you got Brandon Graham. Don't worry. Nobody told me that. You got Fletcher Cox going, kid, you got a chance to be a great one. It's really a super, and you really have a really great environment for that kid. All right. Let's get to our friend Tone here. The segment.
Big Sales, how we doing, sir?
You agree with me what I'm saying about Carter? This guy's got everything in front of him right now, and there's so many people, not only in front of him, but Tone, around him.
Absolutely.
You're looking at so many mentors for that guy that he landed in paradise. I don't believe he could have landed in a better place in the country than
You're absolutely right.
With the Philadelphia Eagles.
You're absolutely right. I mean, let's be totally honest, right? Does Carolina have the infrastructure to handle a guy like Jalen Carter based off everything we know about him? Did Houston have the infrastructure? Did Indianapolis have the infrastructure? Maybe Seattle, but they chose Devin Witherspoon. Did Arizona have the infrastructure? The Las Vegas Raiders, the Atlanta Falcons, the Chicago Bears. They traded the pick back for a reason. So when you think about it from that perspective, right, the Philadelphia Eagles was the best situation for him in terms of his overall development, not just as a man, but also as a player at the D-tackle position. Like you mentioned, you have Brandon Graham on the D-line. You got Fletcher Cox on the D-line, right? On top of that, if you want to take it a step further, Josh Sweat, Jason Kelce on the opposite side, Lane Johnson on the opposite side, Jordan Mailata, guys on the other side who are Super Bowl champions, who won this game and played this game at the highest level, who are going to hold you accountable. You're not going to get off that nonsense next to Fletcher Cox. It's not going to happen, right? He played this game too long. You're not going to get off nonsense around Brandon Graham. He played this game too long. He's been around the block, Super Bowl champions. You dig what I'm saying? There's too much accountability in that locker room. And then if you want to even take it further beyond the D-line, you got guys like Darius Slay, veterans, guys that take their job seriously. James Bradbury, no nonsense kind of guys on the defensive side of the ball. Go to the offensive side of the ball. You got guys like Devontae Smith, Alabama guy, no nonsense, takes his craft very seriously. Let's go to the quarterback position, Jalen Hurts. They go as he goes. So you think about it from that perspective, that entire organization from top to bottom on all three levels of the defense and all three levels of the offense, you have guys who are accountable, guys who take their craft seriously, and guys who genuinely want to be great. That's the perfect environment to cultivate and nurture a guy like Jalen Carter, especially knowing what we know about his past.
What do you make of how the Cowboys are preparing for this Eagle game on Sunday that, with some of the people that we're hearing, they're saying that the Cowboy wide receivers are really looking forward to it. And what they said was that, what people don't really look at with the Eagles secondary is that there's not great team speed back there. It's not, as a unit, a very fast team. And with the style of play, the way they play off the ball, these Cowboy guys think they're going to make plays. And again, someone will go, well, Sills, they stopped the Miami Dolphins offense. Yeah, but you didn't stop the Commander offense. So when you do that on a week-to-week basis and you're trying to line up personnel, you shouldn't do that because the Commanders had more success and they're nowhere near the Dolphins. So how do you take that and how they're seeing how they think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for that Cowboy wide receiver room to have an impact when it comes to the passing game?
If you base it off of last week, they're right. There is going to be a lot of opportunity there, especially when you have guys playing off the line of scrimmage like the DBs do. And on top of that, the linebackers don't necessarily improve in pass coverage. There's going to be a lot of opportunity, especially in the middle of the field. If you notice, Sam Howell wasn't really getting what he wanted on the boundary. He was getting everything in the middle of the field.
Yep.
So when you think about it from that perspective, that's the real conundrum right there. Can Sean Desai find a way to limit the damage in the middle of the field? Can he find a way to prevent the explosive plays from coming over the top? The Philadelphia Eagles defense, they lead the league in the least amount of explosive plays allowed. They do a good job at limiting teams from beating them over the top. That's their specialty, right? And that's what that defense is designed to do. But when it comes to the underneath stuff, that's pretty much the Achilles heel right now. Eric Bieniemy pretty much laid out the perfect game plan to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. You beat them short, you nickel and dime down the field, and you hope your quarterback doesn't make a mistake. So that's pretty much where the game's going to be won and lost in terms of the pass defense, right? Can those guys limit the damage that's done in the inside? Can those linebackers remain disciplined and not overreact and do their best in pass coverage? It's going to be a tough task. Like you said, it's a week-to-week league in terms of your matchups and certain things working against another team and it not working against the other. So the closest thing they could probably compare this to is maybe that Dolphins game because they were so talented, so fast. So I'm looking at it like this: Sean Desai, he has to do everything he can from a schematic standpoint to make sure those guys are prepared. Also, this would be the first week in a long time that they've had the same group of guys on the field back-to-back in the DB room with Slay, Bradbury, Kevin Byard, Reed Blankenship, so on and so forth. So I expect those 4 guys to play better. I'm not sure who they're going to put out in the slot. It may be Eli Ricks, could be Sidney Brown. I'm not entirely sure, but they need some continuity right there. Overall, this is going to be a big week for the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles defense, I think the pass rush has to find a way to get home. They have to find a way to force Dak Prescott out of their pocket, get him off his spots, force him to make the decision he doesn't really want to make.
They're gonna, and from what I'm understanding, he's gonna be more mobile this week.
They've been doing that throughout the season. They've been doing that. So I'm not surprised.
The last 2 weeks, I think he's played his best ball this season. His last 2 weeks when it comes to efficiency. I mean, he's played well the last 2 weeks, and I think it's because of something McNabb stopped doing. That was getting out in the perimeter. If I'm not mistaken, Tone, didn't he have 71 yards rushing last week? Or was it 41?
Against the Rams, he only had 4 carries for 19 yards. But on Monday Night Football against the Chargers, that was his biggest rushing performance in a long time. He had 7 carries for 40 yards. His longest run of the day was 18. So they haven't really got him out of the pocket that much, especially they've tried to do it in the past couple weeks. But prior to that, against the 49ers, only 1 carry, 2 yards. Against the Patriots, 1 carry, -1 yard. Against the Arizona Cardinals, 3 carries, 24 yards. Longest run of the day was 13. So, I mean, they're trying to do what they can to get him out of that pocket, to get him active and get those legs moving. But that's not really what Dak wants to do because he knows he's been hurt a lot. He doesn't want to do that. He really doesn't. So
no, but what it does, Tony, it creates passing lanes for him.
Yes.
And it helps him spread them out more. I'm going to give you a stat, Tone, that you're probably going to be stunned about. So the Cowboys gave me this morning. You ready? The Eagles have only run the ball 23 times in the first half in the last 3 weeks.
Total.
That
makes sense. I can see that. Yeah. I think, So
are you getting away from the run game? Why are you getting away from the run game?
I think last week they got behind quicker than they would like, or they didn't. Obviously, you don't want to be behind at all, but they got behind in that last game. I think they kind of overreacted and started passing the ball a lot more early.
But you're not establishing the run in the last 3 weeks. You haven't established the run.
No, I hear you. I'm with. I'm. You know me, Sills. That's my style.
I got
right?
you. No, I hear you.
I want to establish the run. And that Jets game, that's one of the worst. That was one of the worst called games I've ever seen because they refused to establish the run. In that Dolphins game, they tried to establish it. Maybe they didn't get it off as much as they want, but they were committed. I think they ran the ball like 30 times or 30 plus times, something like that. So they were committed despite it not being successful. So I'm not going to hold that one against them. They still committed to the run to an extent. Last week they got away from it because they got down big. So again, what I'm noticing is these games, they take on identities of their own. They take on complexions, and you kind of have to respond to what's in front of you. I think the Philadelphia Eagles are going to enter this game with the mindset of we're going to be physical at the line of scrimmage. We're going to knock them off the ball, and we're going to establish our run game because there's no way you look at the Cowboys' 2 losses of the season and you don't take nothing from that. Their worst losses of the game, worst losses of the season against the Cardinals and against the 49ers. They have not been able to stop the run. They're not a physical team. They don't want to get physical. They want to pin their ears back, get ahead, and rush the passer. If you can keep their offense off the field, wear down that defense, keep those DBs disengaged, then that's when you attack them, right? Because at that point, they're going to be so preoccupied with the run game. It's kind of what happened in Miami, right? The Eagles still committed to the run game, even though they weren't probably averaging the yards they wanted. They still kept pounding, at least to let the Dolphins know that, hey, we're still going to run this ball. You still have to respect it. That's what the Philadelphia Eagles need to do. And you're getting Cam Jurgens back. He's going to be healthier. That's a huge get back for the Philadelphia Eagles because the way they run the ball, they do a lot of pulling with those guards and
center.
And Cam Jurgens is significantly more athletic than Sua Opeta. They were missing that. And the Eagles, they can get pretty complex in their blocking schemes. Without Cam Jurgens, they probably didn't want to overcomplicate it for a guy like Suo-Opeta, which limited what they were able to do in the run game. So I think they get back to the running game this week. We talked about this earlier in the week. I don't think this is going to be a game that's in the 30s. I think this is going to be a game in the 20s. I don't have my score locked in just yet, but tomorrow I definitely will. The Eagles definitely, I think they come out into this game establishing a run, trying to get that RPO and that play action game going, and attacking Michael Parsons and running at him and forcing him to make a decision on the island.
Who is it more important to score first, the Cowboys or the Eagles?
Eagles. Eagles got to score first. They have to score first because you have to put the pressure on Dallas to respond, right? They're not a team that plays well from behind. Their quarterback is not as efficient playing from behind. If you can find a way to get a double-digit lead on Dallas early, you can win that game. You can control it. And also, it allows you to keep your running game involved and keep their offense off the field. And remember, the reason they beat the Miami Dolphins was not only because they were able to put points up and so on and so forth, because they did turn that ball over. What they did was they limited their possessions. And they held them to under 50 plays. The Miami Dolphins, a team that averages 70-plus plays a week, they held them to under 50 plays. If they can hold the Dallas Cowboys to under 50 plays, even under 55 plays, they win that game.
See, Tone, here's why I say Dallas. I say it's important for Dallas to score first because it'll take Philly out of their run game quicker. And what they'll do.
So we're saying the same thing, but on different sides of it, right?
Correct. That's exact. See, but the comfort zone with the Eagles is the stat you gave me yesterday about Hurts coming back from behind in the fourth. They're more apt to come from behind than the Cowboys are. So it's more important for the Cowboys to have that lead going into the fourth quarter. The Eagles don't have to have the lead going into the fourth quarter.
Yeah, they don't need
because
it.
Because they play better.
That's the difference, though,
football.
right? That's the difference between the Cowboys and the Eagles. I think the
They
Cowboys
play
need
better
a
in
lead.
the fourth.
Yes. I think the Cowboys need a lead in the fourth.
That's right.
They need a lead. The Eagles are a team that have shown you they don't necessarily need a lead, but I mean, who doesn't want a lead, right?
You can't have the Eagles having dual threat ability with being able to run the ball and throw the ball in the fourth on you when you can't stop the run and you're from behind and your quarterback hasn't shown the ability to play good from behind, whereas Hurts is showing you that he elevates his game. So if I'm Dallas, and you're right, we're kind of saying the same shit here, but if you're Dallas, I think it's more imperative that you go into that fourth quarter with at least a 4-point lead, make it a 2-possession game, that you have to, it doesn't have to be 9, but if you're in a 4-point possession game, that's a 2-possession game, okay? So when you're going 4 points, you have to have that lead if you're Dallas, because I think these coaches will abandon the run and they will throw the ball. And if you do that, you turn it into a Cowboy game. You know, you said something just a couple minutes ago, 27-24, shit like that, that favors Dallas. That doesn't favor the Eagles, because if you're close like that, and the Cowboys aren't, I don't think the Cowboys are going to put up a ton of points. Okay. But if the Eagles can't put a ton of points up, you're playing into the Cowboys. And if they have the lead, Tone, in the fourth, then coaching walks into this.
Yep.
And I'm a believer Dan Quinn knows what he's doing. And how about this? Mike McCarthy is maligned a lot. I don't think he's great. I do. I don't think he's great. But Dak's not turning the ball over like he did a year ago. Let me get this here. The offense I think Brian Johnson is trying to implement is a West Coast offense. You throw the ball a lot in a West Coast offense. It's a spread. It's a spread offense. It is a spread offense.
I think you bring up a good point, right? I think it's so important for the Philadelphia Eagles to have a lead going into the fourth quarter, because Dallas doesn't want that, right? Dallas doesn't want to be behind by a touchdown, in the fourth quarter, because what makes the Eagles so successful, they're the number one team in the NFL on third down and fourth down, which means they're very good at sustaining drives. They're very good at dominating time of possession. They're very good at situational football, which, in my humble opinion, the Cowboys haven't quite shown me that they're good at situational football. They've blown teams out, right? Like when it comes to the Cowboys, either they're blowing a team out or they're getting smoked themselves. So it's like, where's the in between, right? Who are you when you're down by 4 points? It's 5 minutes left. You need this drive. Who are you in those moments? Who are you when you need that third down? Who are you when you don't have your defense getting a pick six for you? Who are you when you don't have your defense getting a strip set going to the house for a scoop and score? Who are you when you don't have your defense forcing a safety? Who are you when your special teams doesn't return a kick? Who can this offense put up points by their lonesome? I'm not sure they can in a situational setting. The Philadelphia Eagles have shown an ability to win close games. They've shown an ability to come from behind. They've shown an ability to sustain drives and put teams away and not allow them to touch that ball. Perfect example, the Miami Dolphins game, that final drive, the Dolphins didn't touch the ball for the final 8 or 7 minutes. The Philadelphia Eagles have to find a way to dominate time of possession, limit their amount of possessions, limit their plays, sustain drives. They win this game. Force at least one turnover. All you got to do is force it one. Just force one.
See, to me, Dallas would rather defend in the fourth than have to drive in the fourth for a game win. You know what I'm saying?
If they had the lead, right? They would rather have the lead. They have the lead. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Because their defense is actually their strength.
They'd rather defend with their guys in the back end than have to try to drive the ball on the Eagles.
That's their strength.
Ball game.
Dallas would much rather win with their defense having to win the game than their offense having to win the game. Absolutely. I agree with that 100%.
Yes. Absolutely. Yes. Okay, let's do this here with Dak. Why does he have success against Philly? Actually, if you think about it, Tone, he has monster success against the entire NFC East. He owns almost every team in the East. Why?
It's so easy.
Is it simple, common opponent?
I was going to say it's so easy to just say common opponent, right? I feel like that's the easy answer.
It is. It's low-hanging fruit.
But what else could it be?
That's what I'm saying. Why how many wins in a row does he have against the Giants? Like 10? It's something ridiculous where he's got the Commanders actually probably get this, Tone. The Commanders probably give the Cowboys and Dak more issues as much as the Commanders give the Eagles issues each and every single week. Mm-hmm. Something about that team really kind of pushes the Cowboys. They beat the Cowboys the final game of the year last year. With Sam Howell in his first start. It's crazy. But why does this guy it can't just be because he plays them. He plays them twice a year. That can't be why.
Dak Prescott has made a career off the NFC East. If we're being completely honest, he's made a career off of it.
He's made a $50 million career off it.
Because against the rest of the NFL, he's not as consistent as He's just not. He's almost guaranteed to go 4-2, 5-1 on the season against the NFC East. That's a guaranteed 5 or 4 wins right there. So when you think about it from that perspective, that leaves how many more games in your schedule? That leaves about 11 games left in your schedule. So
if you go 500, you're good.
If you go 500, you're good. You know what I mean? It's like it's hard for me to, and this is why Dak Prescott doesn't get the respect he deserves, especially when it comes to the playoffs, because in the playoffs, you're not playing a common opponent. You know what I'm saying? Unless maybe your divisional rival gets in, but you're not. The odds are you're not playing a common opponent.
You're playing the NCAA tournament, somebody you don't see ever.
Exactly, and that's the thing. You know what I mean? Jalen Hurts has never seen the Miami Dolphins in his career. Never seen him. But guess what? He played a pretty solid game. He turned the ball over, but he played a pretty solid game, won the game. You know what I mean? It's like, it's easy to win these. Maybe it is just common opponent. It just may be that simple.
It has to be.
It has to be, because familiarity breeds contempt.
You know what I think, and I compare it to this. You know how you play in the National League East and you're a starting pitcher for the Phillies and you play the Mets or the Braves and you got a book on a guy, and you got a book on a guy that you keep, and a cornerback and the two corners and the safeties that you got. Well, this guy right here really doesn't play press coverage well, or this guy doesn't play bump and run, or this guy will let a guy get behind him. If you do a crossing route here, then when you're putting game plans together, like you said, Jalen doesn't have a book on the Miami Dolphins cornerbacks, but he's got a book on the Cowboy corners. He's got a book on the Washington corners. You got a book on everybody here because and you see maybe I think it's this. that he knows and he studies more tendencies than the NFC East guys. And that's what makes him more successful. He knows the tendencies. Think about Bradbury, for instance. Bradbury's played his entire career in the NFC East. Why wouldn't he not know him?
He started out in Carolina. I think I traded.
Yeah, Carolina.
To,
that's right. Then he got to New York.
New York, right. But yeah, for the past several years, past 4 to 5 years, he's been in, I believe, the NFC East. Yes.
All right.
Same thing with Darius Slay. So yeah.
How about this? CeeDee Lamb in the slot. Who do you put on him?
Who do I put on him? I'm okay. This may sound crazy, but I'm putting somebody that's going to get physical with him down there. And
you want to put Sidney on him?
He's a rookie. I'm taking a risk. But listen, man, sometimes when you're missing your starting slot in Avonte Maddox, man, and Bradley Roby's not going to be back, you gotta try something, right? You know, it's going to be there's always a wrong answer. So
I don't think there is a wrong answer when you're coming up with trying to match personnel.
You know, you gotta.
It's a gamble.
That's my point. You know, it's a gamble. You know what I mean? So you win some, you lose some. I want somebody in there that's going to get physical with him, make him uncomfortable, and make him feel. Because CeeDee Lamb is not a physical receiver. He's not.
Nope.
Not by any stretch of their imagination. You know, I used to get in debates with Cowboys fans that they used to say, yeah, CeeDee Lamb is better than A.J. Brown. I'm like, are you smoking crack? Are you smoking dope? Like, come on, man, lay off the weed. like we got to stop playing here, man, because
CeeDee Lamb is a better version of T. Higgins.
Yeah, he's in that class. Exactly. He's in that class.
Like, do you think he's better than Terry McLaurin?
I don't think so.
I don't either.
I personally would take Terry McLaurin over CD because I think he's more physical, and he still gives me everything that CD provides. That's just my opinion, though. So, honestly, you know, I'm throwing Sidney Brown on him, man. Why not? And if it's not working, damn it, Eli Ricks. Like you gotta try something. You got young guys back there. Got to make or break them, man. So I want somebody out there that's going to get physical with him and make him really, really, really uncomfortable. Press him.
Do you press the Cowboy wide receivers, or do you stick to your style of defense that you're playing, or do you try to mix it up?
They're expecting us to play off. They're expecting that. So I would mix it up, honestly. And, you know, I don't want Bradbury pressing anybody, if I'm being honest. I'm at that point now with Bradbury. I don't want you pressing the soul. He just doesn't have the speed. He doesn't have the get back speed. You know what I'm saying? He just doesn't have that. Slay, I wouldn't mind. But overall, they got to mix it up. They can't allow them to get the same look every single time. I wouldn't mind if they, you know, put those linebackers in the A gap, fake like they're going to blitz, then all of a sudden have him drop back in coverage. You know what I'm saying? Like, you make him see one thing, and then another complete different thing happens. So that's where I'm at with it. You got to mix it up. You can't let him continue to see the same. And that's the thing about these good quarterbacks, right? If you let them see the same thing over and over and over, they're just going to just pick it apart every single time. So you have to mix it up with Dak Prescott. Say what you want about him. He has experience. He's been in the league for a long time. He's seen a lot of different defenses. He may not be a tier 1 quarterback, but at the end of the day, he's still processing. He's still learning. He's still seeing the game. So I wouldn't mix it up if I was Sean Desai. And that's the thing about Sean Desai. I trust him to be creative in this regard. You know, this is his first matchup against the Cowboys. You know, maybe he has something in store that Jonathan Gannon didn't have.
Do you start Nakobe Dean?
No.
Do you play him?
Unless somebody get hurt. I mean, I'm sorry, man. He's done nothing to impress me over the past handful of weeks.
And tell the people so that they don't think you're hating why you're saying that.
Okay, so I'll put it to you like this, right? When Nicholas Morrow came in, and as a matter of fact, the chat is actually more on board with what I'm saying than I look at it. I'm saying a lot of people say no.
Oh, no, I see. No. He says it. You guys love him. I say it. You hate me. All right.
But here's the thing. Honestly, I think that Commanders game really was the last straw for them. Because listen, Philly's been campaigning for Nakobe Dean all season, right? They've been doing it. But my thing is, Nakobe Dean in college, they didn't really ask him to drop back in coverage. You know what they used him for? They used him as a blitzer. They used him in the run game. And also he was playing behind that defensive line, the best defense in college football. He wasn't really asked to really like stay with the guys in pass coverage. That wasn't what he was asked to do. He was asked to be a blitzer and all that kind of stuff and spy. So like when I think about it from that perspective, I think about what Nicholas Morrow has been able to do, right? Again, Nicholas Morrow is not a stellar linebacker, but he was serviceable. Your pass defense wasn't as much of a liability with the linebackers. Zach Cunningham and Morrow, they were developing chemistry and understanding. You dig what I'm saying? So when you throw Nakobe Dean back out there, to me, it's like you're cutting in your nose to spite your face. Like this ain't got nothing to do with me liking him. He's a cool dude. I like him, smart kid. I'm pretty sure he's a good guy, all that kind of stuff. But this ain't got nothing to do with that.
I think he needs more football.
He does, but he ain't getting it this week. Nicholas Morrow needs to be out there, honestly.
They need to work him in winning situations. I mean, like I said, man, they threw him into a boiling pot of water, expecting him to swim in it.
Right. I would have felt better if he was an all-ball linebacker. I wouldn't even mind if they brought him in as a blitzer, but I don't want him dropping back in coverage. You dig what I'm saying? I'm not comfortable with him right there. No bad blood. I'm not comfortable with him out there. I'm just not. Like Eagles fans, we need to be honest with ourselves. When Nicholas Morrow and Cunningham were out there, we did not talk about the linebackers for weeks. Then all of a sudden, the Nakobe Dean comes back, and we're starting to see holes again. It's not an accident.
And a guy being targeted.
Exactly.
Right. Does the side bring pressure?
I think he will in spurts. But I think what he's going to do, he's going to let his front four get off first. He's not going to just come out the gate and do that. I don't think. I think he's going to allow his front four to dictate what happens next. If my front four is getting home, if they're wreaking enough havoc out there, I'm not in a rush to blitz them because you still want some guys back there in pass coverage, in my humble opinion. You're still dealing with a guy who's 8-3 against you, so he knows how to pick his defense apart. I'm definitely having my front four do their job early, and if they're not getting enough pressure, that's when I'll send an additional guy.
What if I were to tell you that the word over at the NovaCare Center is that Kenny Gainwell is going to start the Cowboy game? Start.
I checked the injury report. Swift's not on it.
And I know.
So stop playing.
I'm not. I'm not.
Lord have mercy.
Can I tell you? Okay, can I tell you what somebody told me? There's two. You know, Sean Desai and Jeff Stoutland were at the University of Miami.
Right.
Do you know why they like them? Because they know the playbook better. Gainwell knows the playbook better. It's the only reason that
if you're not executing, what difference does it make?
I get it. I said the same shit. Hey, does Gainwell have as many carries? He can't as Swift. He can't have as many carries as Swift.
No, it's not close. No.
How many games has DeAndre Swift started?
DeAndre Swift has started every single game. Give me 1 second. I'll give you the exact number though. But he started every single game. If I'm not mistaken.
He didn't start that first game.
Let me see something really quickly. Give me one moment.
They established Gainwell right away in that new Patriot game.
All right. Let me see. DeAndre Swift. All right. So Swift, you're right. He didn't start the first game. The first game they tried to establish Gainwell, and then they realized, yeah, Swift's the more talented guy because when Swift did get on the field, he was more explosive. He showed an ability to create more space. So yeah, Swift didn't start that first game. That's my apologies. He didn't start that first game. Gainwell did. But ever since then, Swift has been the starter. I would be completely shocked if they started Kenny Gainwell over Swift in this game.
Would too.
It wouldn't make sense to me because Kenny Gainwell has done nothing to in any category to show he deserves to get more snaps or start over Swift.
Who do you establish in this game? Who is the guy that's going to be the person that beats the Cowboys?
I know the easy answer is AJ Brown, But honestly, if you ask me, you got to get Goddard going. I don't think they can defend Goddard.
I don't think they have
so.
a guy on that foot. You know what? Hey, can I tell you what I told? I'll say this. I told Dan Quinn. I've known Dan Quinn 25 years. I told Dan Quinn, you don't have a linebacker on that football team that could cover Dallas Goedert. You know what his comment was? Well, they don't always establish him right away. And I go like this. I go, so are you saying that they're coaching? He goes, I'm not saying anything. All I'm saying is I go by what they do. Last 2 weeks, they've tried to do it. So it's trending that way where they're trying to get him and Swift going in the passing game. Now, again, the reason why Swift is starting is because the carries are down. And the carries are down because they don't want to beat him up. That's why he starts. If the carries were high, Gainwell would be starting. It wouldn't be DeAndre Swift, okay? There's a reason why when you see personnel groupings and settings, you have to look at who's being established and who's getting the touches on the ball. DeAndre Swift is getting more touches in the passing game than he is actually in the run game. I mean, if you think about it, Tone, you're seeing more passes that are going to him and Goddard in the first quarter than you are anything else that he's doing. And he's benefited the most by those 2 games when the people are going like this, well, he's 4th in the league. Yeah, that's like telling me that Chandler Jones a couple of years ago had 7 sacks in 1 game, and they go like this, well, he finished with 11. Yeah, okay, great. Well, he had 7 in 1 game. That doesn't mean he had a great year.
Right. Yeah, you bring up a good point. I'm definitely looking to get Dallas Goedert going in this game. I feel like it's imperative. He's a guy he's outside of AJ Brown. I think he's their second most unguardable problem on offense. I don't see any team that can really stop him from a physical standpoint, stop him from a speed standpoint. Listen, he's too fast for linebackers. He's too physical for safeties. He's super athletic. If you notice, every time they give him the ball, it seems like he creates so much space between him and the defender, right? They need to find a way to get him the ball early, get him going because they can't stop him. The Cowboys are going to key in on AJ Brown. They're going to try to double him. They're going to try to bracket him. They're going to try to do everything they can to keep him out of the game.
Stephon Gilmore and help with the safety they're going to be doing that. And
now let me ask you this real quick: do you think they're going to put Deron Bland on or Gilmore on AJ Brown?
They're going to put the more physical guy on him with help over the top. Like they're not going to let him do a hitch and go, which means that if he comes and then goes up and then he makes a post route, they're not going to let him. They're going to have him. Now, there's a great chance AJ, because of his physicality, you know who they're going to play him like? They're going to play him like Aeneas Williams used to play Michael Irvin. Physical, hands. Gilmore's got a lot of – he's handsy like Darrelle Revis was out of that old New England mentality, kind of trying to push him and hurt him towards the sidelines. The Revis had a great technique with his hip and his hands to try to get you over to the sidelines and use the sidelines for advantage. Well, AJ's too smart for that. He's a seasoned guy. So you could probably try to see some hitch and goes, but this is where it's going to be a problem because they're going to basically, without doing it, Tone, put 2 people on him. They're going to have a guy over the top in case he gets beat. And the guys who are going to have to really win this ball game are going to be Goddard and Devontae Smith. And what they're thinking, in my opinion, that's why I say Dallas has to get a lead. I think what they want them to do is they want them to panic by not running the ball.
So you think they stack the box early on us?
I think what they're going to try to do is have a little bit of leeway to have Jalen throw the ball. They'd rather win a war in the air than a war on the ground because they can't hang on the ground with you. On both sides of the ball, you can't have a ground attack. Like, you have a better chance of beating. You know how some teams let teams score sometimes, Tone, late in games so you get the ball back and you get a chance with the clock? The Cowboys would rather give you the impression that there's open lanes for you to throw the ball so that you'll abandon the balance, which the Eagles have abandoned the balance this year. That's why the turnovers. They think this. And again, it's a chess game here. The Eagles getting away from – look at the self-inflicted wounds that they've had. Everyone's going, Hurts is playing great. Hurts' numbers are this and that. However, every game's close, and there's high turnovers. And that's what Dallas is seeing now. They're going to go like this. Well, I'll take my chance. He's going to turn the ball over. which he's turned the ball over in every game but one. And what we're going to see is higher percentage turnover plays. They'd rather play, Tone, the higher percentage turnover game that Jalen may make a mistake in the game, tip pass, fumble, which has been now a trend on the team, than go like this. Let's stack the box. Let's press them. Let's push them into something we can't. Why would I, if I'm Dan Quinn, push you into something I can't defend?
So you think this game is won and lost because of discipline?
Yes. And I think discipline in play
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Discipline in play calling and discipline in
patience.
scheme.
What about patience as well, right? Because I think I personally believe the Philadelphia Eagles, they do have a propensity to lose patience.
Last 3 weeks dictate that.
Yeah, they do have moments where they lose patience. It was definitely evident in that Jets game. They lost patience too soon. They went into that game thinking they needed to throw the ball across the yard against a Jets team where you didn't have to. Why are you trying to blow up the Jets? Just win the game. You know what I'm saying? So I do, again, we spoke about this time and time again, and the tune is not going to change. They got to get that. They got to get the running game going. They have to establish it. They have to make Dallas respected. What's so funny? I always pay a lot of attention to the first play call of a game because the first play call of a game tells me a lot about what you were thinking and what's the first thing you want to establish, right? In that Miami game, the first thing the Philadelphia Eagles did, they ran the ball. Actually, they ran the ball 3 straight times. So that told me, okay, they want to get that going, right? There are certain in that Jets game, they threw the ball 3 straight times, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So, matter of fact, on that first drive, I think it actually was I can't remember the exact amount of plays. I think they ran 18. It was the 19-play drive. They ran 19 plays, 17 of the plays were passes. So I pay attention to the first play, the first couple plays they're running. If the Philadelphia Eagles first play or first 2 plays are run plays, I know their mind's in the right place.
Do you think Brian Johnson's gotten better since week 1 as we're in the halfway point of the season?
I think he has gotten better. Granted, he didn't start from
what area?
I think he's gotten better in terms of
feel
and sequencing. I think he's gotten a lot better with sequencing.
Situational play calling.
Yeah, red zone. Despite those 2 fumbles, what's so crazy? If the Eagles didn't fumble those 2 times in the red zone against the Washington Commanders, do you know they would have been 5 for 5?
Yeah.
5 for 5, but instead they were 3 for 5. You know what I'm saying? Against the Dolphins, I believe they were 4 for 6. It would have been 4 for 5, but they had the ball on the last possession and they decided to kneel it instead of score. You know what I mean? So they've been trending in the right direction in the red zone, right? And also, let's be honest, in that Washington game, I understand Washington's a team that's still up and coming, but there was no room for error in that second half for Brian Johnson. There was no room for error. And he said, you know what? I'm trusting my big money guys. I'm trusting the guys that we invest a lot in. He said, you know what? A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, make plays. And I can respect that because, when all the chips are on the line, you want to go to your money guys. You know what I mean? And I don't just mean money as far as how much they make. I mean, they cash in, they know what to do. You know what I'm saying? Like in basketball, right? When you need that game-winning shot, you're not giving it to Scottie Pippen, you're giving it to Jordan. You know what I'm saying? So I think one thing I will say about Brian Johnson, I think he's gotten better with sequencing. I think he's gotten better with feel. And I also think he's gotten a little bit better in terms of situation and red zone. They're trending in the right direction. Still not perfect, but I definitely believe without a doubt he has improved. How much remains to be seen.
How about Desai? You think he's improved since week 1 to week 8?
I feel like,
or is he being hampered by injuries and to some extent a scheme that was handed to him that he's, think about this too. He may be in this scheme here, Tone, learning how to put his pieces and his spin on what they want to do inside of what the organization wants to do.
Yeah, that's a good point because if even in Arizona, Gannon isn't running the same defense that he ran when he was here last year. He's running a variation. It's a little different. So I think Sean Desai, I think he's treading water right now. I don't think he's gotten significantly better. I think he's gotten better from week 1 up until now, but I feel like he's plateaued. That Washington game kind of plateaued him a little bit. But I think he has been dealing with a lot of injuries on the back end. Again, we talk about this Eagles defense and what's required for it to succeed. You need communication. Those guys are constantly, playing in zone concepts and are literally passing off guys. You got to hear the same voices. You know what I'm saying? When you're constantly changing bodies, you're changing voices. You don't necessarily expect your teammate to be in one area, but he ends up being there in the first anyway. It's all about knowing where guys are around you. And when you're constantly shuffling pieces like that, that defense can't work. That's the thing about the Philadelphia Eagles defense. That's the thing about the Vic Fangio defense in general. If you keep shuffling pieces, it won't work. You have to have continuity from a personnel standpoint. I mentioned this is the second week in a row. You got the same guys back there. You got more experience on the back end with Kevin Byard. I think they're going to play a much better game this week compared to how they played last week. And we talk about it all the time. It's a week-to-week league, man. You may suck against a team that's not as good as the last team that you knocked off. So I think Sean Desai's defense bounces back. I definitely believe that because they have more continuity. Guys are getting healthier.
DC just brought this up in the super chat here, and he said that Hurts has like the longest starting streak in the NFC East as a starting quarterback right now. And this goes back to a little bit of what we were talking about with Jacoby Dean. When you have continuity and you're playing week in and week out and you're getting rep, it's like anything you do in life. You ever tried bowling or you ever tried playing pool? The more you do it, the better you get at it. No matter whatever it becomes. And that's what is making Jalen.
Oh, he's talking about Dak. He's saying Dak is the longest tenured quarterback in the NFC East.
So he's talking Dak.
Right.
That's why Dak does. That could be because, hey, dude, again, tendencies.
Exactly.
How do you defend Dak? He's talking about Dak. Thank you, Matt. How do you defend Dak in this game? And by the way, does he scare you? He's had, of all quarterbacks in the NFL today, he's had the most success and has been the biggest thorn in the Eagles' backside the last decade.
That's true.
Think about that for a second, Tony. Even Mahomes.
Yeah.
Mahomes and him have been the biggest thorns.
Yeah. He doesn't necessarily scare me. It's more so I know what he's capable of. So I think it's important that the Philadelphia Eagles have that same mindset. So I think for me, if I want to attack Dak, I need to force, again, this is where complementary football comes in. If the Eagles score first, now you're putting Dak in a position where he has to somewhat win the game. And that's never been Dak's strong suit. You have to put him in a situation where he has to do it. You dig what I'm saying? He has to be the one to beat you in a crucial moment. I think you force them in a lot of third and longs. You got to find a way you got to win first down, first and foremost. You got to win first down. You put Dak in a situation where he has to hold on to that ball much longer than what he wants to. You get home. Again, it sounds like a broken record, but your front four, your defensive line has to wreak havoc in this game. They got to get hands and feet on Dak Prescott. They got to make him uncomfortable back there. They got to have him saying ghost, honestly.
This is in my opinion, okay, I've been in some of these type of meetings, obviously. And when you're game planning a guy like a Montana or an Elway or a Brady or any of these guys, the first things you look at are what makes them uncomfortable, what you just said. I don't want Dak Prescott rolling right. So I'm going to bring pressure off the hash, making him move left because he has a propensity to throw high.
Yes.
Again, I hate saying this because it sounds like I'm giving, info to Dan Quinn, but I'm like, you move Dak Prescott to his left. He has a propensity to throw more picks from the left hash. Look at the stats. I looked him up. He throws more picks when he rolls left and he's out in the perimeter. When he's in a comfort zone and he's looking for passing lanes, he likes to run left. And he does what Roethlisberger did. He's not looking to get upfield vertically. He wants to go horizontally. because he's trying to find a passing lane somewhere in there by creating it with his feet.
Yeah.
See, Roethlisberger was sensational at doing this. I mean, Tone, he would drop back and he would move just a couple feet inside the pocket to move the safety or the linebackers over so that he can come back to a second read. He was great at doing that. And that's what Dak, you can't allow him to dictate the tempo of the passing game. Do you trust Mike McCarthy or Brian Johnson? Well, I trust Mike McCarthy more because Mike McCarthy
he has experience,
a Super Bowl, and has been in the league longer and has been doing it longer.
Has a track record.
I mean, you guys, you don't want to give credit. I mean, you want to give Nick Sirianni credit for being a good coach, but you want to take the credit away from Mike McCarthy for winning one. I mean, you can't have it both ways.
Let me ask you a question really quickly.
Sirianni's a great coach, and he lost the Super Bowl, and yet McCarthy was the play-calling head coach, and he won it. You can't have it both ways like that. I mean, so when people go, well, you can't trust Brian Johnson more. Now, do I think he's getting better? I do. And I'll tell you something else too, Tone, on Jalen Hurts. This is what I would do if I was Dan Quinn to Hurts. You've got to make him not want to run the ball. Look, they don't have to stop the run. The Eagles will stop the run if you bait them into it.
Right.
And I said that, and I go, he's like, what do you mean? I go, they don't want to anymore. They don't have a back. They haven't replaced Sanders. Sanders was a harder runner. They trusted him more. They have abandoned the run game. The last 3 weeks, they've abandoned it. They had 2 good games, and all of a sudden, 23 attempts in the last 3 weeks dictates that's a fundamental mentality of what they're doing. Now, is that because of the bone bruise? It could be. But the limiting of Jalen's rushing attempts has affected the balance. It's not – I don't fear this offense as much as get this, Tone. I don't fear this offense this year as much as I did last year's. And here's why. Devontae was more of a force. Goddard was more of a force. AJ was a force. And Sanders and Hurts were a force. Don't you agree the balance is lost this year? And that's the one dynamic that's different. Sure, you're getting more passing. You got more passing yards. Everyone's happy with that. But you got more turnovers, what makes the game – the turnovers are what is making the games close.
Exactly. They gotta get that in check again.
So think about that, though. They'd rather have the high turnovers, Tone, and have the games close than the balance. That's what Quinn is saying. You get a lead on them. They don't believe the Cowboy coaches do not believe that they will have the patience and the poise to stay with that fundamental.
I think this week they will. I think this week they will because the blueprint for the Cowboys is pretty clear cut.
It is.
It's pretty clear cut.
But you have to be. They've gone against the last 3 weeks.
But you got to be disciplined enough to stick with it.
Okay.
Because they're going to break at some point. But you got to be disciplined enough. I think this week they will. I think so.
I think the guy you get going is Swift in the run game. Not Swift in the passing game.
Yes. Swift in the run game, not Swift in the passing game. Yes.
Give him 25 carries. You're going into a bye.
Yeah, I feel like too often they try to get him going in the passing game. I'm like, no, get him going in the run game. Get him going there because he's still as explosive. If you ask me,
Tone, I think he could get 125 yards this week.
Man,
but will they have the poise and patience? Will they have the poise and patience, Tone, to do that?
Hey, listen, that's the $1 million question, Sills. We're gonna find out, man.
Isn't that crazy though? Get this. This comes down to arrogance and ego and coaching that you could be put in a position that you could cost yourself a game if you fundamentally don't approach your game plan right. And we've seen games this year where we were all scratching our heads sometimes going, Why are they going with those personnel settings? Why are they not using this guy? Why are they not targeting this guy? Why has this guy got a goose egg in attempts and targets? What's going on here? Why are they getting away from see, the numbers look good, but the balance doesn't. Exactly. The fear of the Eagles a year ago was Hurts in the balance of the offense. They've theoretically taken dual threat away.
I think they've taken the run game for granted. I think they've conditioned themselves to think that, they can just run whenever they want. And no, you can't. You can't, because you saw over the past 3 weeks, we've seen that you can't. So be intentional with getting your run game going. If you come in with the mindset, you guys, we're going to get this run game going, because the pass game, it's going to come. It's going to come. But that run game, you got to start off strong there. If you don't get your run game going, it's kind of hard to lean into it later on in the game. It's kind of hard. So the Eagles have shown an ability to do that, but they haven't been able to do that over the past 3 weeks. They got to get back. They got to get back to the basics.
Look at what Ryan said. Ryan just said that the Cowboys aren't on the Eagles level. Neither were the Jets.
It's not about who's on the level. It's about who's on the. It's all about who brings it that day.
Do you think that poor coaching cost the Eagles that football game?
The Jets game?
Yeah.
Yeah, poor coaching and turnovers for sure. Yeah, poor coaching and turnovers. Two things that can be controlled.
Hey, player accountability and coaching decisions. It could cost you the Cowboy game on Sunday if you don't play the game right. And you know what's crazy, Tone? You don't have to overcook it.
You really don't got to overcook it.
Just punch him in the face first.
Exactly. Get your offensive line confident. Get them going forward. You know what I'm saying? Impose your will on those edge rushers, on those on that defensive line. Make them feel you. And then at that point, then they'll think twice about, coming forward. Well, but again, I think this is a week where they do maintain discipline. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a game where Jalen Hurts throws the ball 35 times, the Eagles run the ball 30 times.
What did you think the mayor of Philly was going to say?
What did you think I was going to say, baby? What did you think I was going to say?
No. I absolutely, man. I think we're going to see coaching like you saw Andy Reid and Doug Peterson wrapped up in one guy. Nick Sirianni's going to coach his ass off. It's going to be his greatest game. Jalen's going to go for 450. Devontae's getting 125. AJ's going to at least have 200. Shit.
Oh, man.
Are you kidding me?
That's wishful thinking.
Hey, and then tones like this, 46-2.
Can you even get two in football
game? You get a safety. If that's because you kick it through the back of the end zone because you want to embarrass them more.
Oh, man, that's hilarious. I can't wait till tomorrow till we give our predictions, man. It's going to be fun.
Hey, Tone, real quick, man. So, we beat the Gators so bad. We beat them 31-0. We were beating them 31-0. Jimmy dropped the ball put the ball on the ground, told the kicker to kick it through the back of the end zone. Beat them 31-2. I swear. Hey, it was so embarrassing. He told the punter to drop it, kick it through the back of the end zone.
Oh, for my God.
He gave him 2 points as the clock was kicking off. True story.
That's cold-blooded. That's just beat me by just shut me out. Beat me 44, whatever it is, 0. Don't give me 2 points, man. This ain't a basketball game. Don't give me 2 points.
He kicked it through because he wanted to say the only way you were going to score was us doing this, because you weren't going to do anything else. It was more embarrassing. I was like,
that's worse.
I put my hand over my eye. I went over to shake some of my friends' hands. And I went like this. I go, hey, I don't know. Tone, great stuff, my friend.
Yes, sir. It's always fun.
You got it, man. Ryan says need everything to go their way to win. Birds don't. True. Absolutely. Absolutely. We're going to have a little fun. My mid-season awards. Player of the Year, MVP. Defensive Rookie of the Year. We'll do all that. Talk more Cowboys and Birds. I thought that stat, 23 rushes in the last 3 games in the first half, was a telling stat. I got that from the Cowboys today. But hey, it is Happy Wings Giving for Hooters. Happy Wings Givings. That's right, man. Right now, during this month of November, you get an opportunity to enjoy some of the great specials. And the Iconic Girls want to thank you. The Iconic Hooter Girls want to thank you with all these great specials each and every single day for the month of November. Ice Cold Coors Lights, $2.99, 25 cents goes to a local charity. How about this one too? The calendars are out. The 2024 calendars. I've actually been a judge down in Fort Lauderdale and in Vegas when we were doing the calendars. I've been involved with Hooters now for over 40 years. Go to northeasthooters.com. By the way, inside those calendars, if you buy one, $100 in gift certificates. Some of the specials, Monday through Friday, 11:30 through 3. Boneless wings, absolutely fabulous. Happy hour, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6. 6 items, $6. Get the fried pickles, sensational. Seafood Sundays have price off. I love the steamers. I love the buffalo shrimp. Military Mondays, 20% off. Tuesday, buy 10 wings, get 10 boneless free. And, of course, the legendary Wing Wednesdays, 1983, all you can eat. NortheastHooters.com. That's NortheastHooters.com. When we roll into any one of the places, do me a favor. Tell them Big Sil sent you.
Football and Hooters, the perfect pair.